Hello, everybody. All right, so you have your Chapter 4 test coming up over inequalities. So you should have your study guide, your paper copy out in front of you, or if you have been sick at home, split your screen. All right, first thing we need to know how to do, write the word sentence as an inequality. A number y plus 2 is greater than negative 5. A number y plus 2 is greater than negative 5. That's all you have to do. Number 2, a number s minus 2 4/10 is at least 8. A number s minus 2 4/10 is at least 8. Remember those key words, at least, always means greater than or equal to. So the number could be 8 or the number could be greater than 8. Tell whether the given value is a solution of the inequality. So when I was teaching this to you in class, I suggested either highlighting or putting a box around the given value for the variable because that all kind of tends to run together in my head. So now I can see what I'm really trying to solve is this right here. So we're going to substitute negative 2 for p. So is 8 times negative 2 less than negative 3? Well, 8 times negative 2 is negative 16. Is negative 16 less than negative 3? And on these, your final answer is going to be a yes or a no. So that one would be yes because negative 16 is less than negative 3. Over here, we're going to substitute negative 8 for z. So is negative 8 plus 2 greater than negative 4? Negative 8 plus 2, different signs find the difference. The difference between 8 and 2 is 6, and you had more negatives in your problem. Is negative 6 greater than negative 4? Final answer on these is going to be a yes or a no. So that one would be a no. Graph the inequality on the number line. So number 5 is red. X is less than negative 12. So first we have to number the number line. You're always going to put the value of your solution. So this would be negative 12 right there. And then you're going to put one number to the right and one number to the left. If it's less than, it's going to be an open circle. X is less than negative 12. Notice that less than points to the left, so your arrow on this one should be pointing to the left. Number 6, V is greater than 5/4. So we're going to label. So 5/4 is equal to 1 1/4. So I could label this with a 1, a 2, and a 0. V is greater than, so that's going to be an open circle at 1 1/4. So an open circle just past the number 1. And notice that the greater than sign points to the right. So your number line should be darkened pointing to the right. That's to show that all of those values could be substituted in for your variable. Number 7, Q is less than or equal to 4 2/10. So if it's 4 2/10, I'm going to put a 4 in the middle with a 5 to the right and the 3 to the left. 4 2/10 is going to be just past 4, and that's less than or equal to. So that's going to be a closed circle. And notice that less than points to the left. So that line is going to get darkened going to the left. Solve the inequality and graph the solution. All right, so this one has the variable on the right. I'm going to go ahead and flip all of that to the left. So I'm going to take this and put it over here, and I'm going to take this and put it over here. Now remember, when I do that, I have to also flip my sign. So greater than or equal to is going to flip to less than or equal to. What number plus 1 is less than or equal to negative 3/4? minus 1 on the left, and minus 1 on the right. So W is less than or equal to negative 1 3/4. Solution, W is less than or equal to negative 1 3/4. It also says to graph the solution, which you'll have to do quite a lot of on your test. So to graph this one, I'm going to put a negative 1, a negative 2, and a 0. Negative 1 3/4 would be almost to negative 2, and that's going to be a closed circle. And if we look at our sign, the less than sign points to the left, so that line is going to be darkened to the left. Number 9. What number minus 2 6/10 is less than negative 3 4/10? First thing you always want to check for is to see that your variable is on the left, and it is, so we can go ahead and start solving. So the opposite of negative 2 6/10 is positive 2 6/10. So this is going to cancel over here. So y is less than. So if I'm focused on solving this problem, I've got a negative number and a positive number. Different signs, find the difference. So 3 4/10 minus 2 6/10. 14 minus 6 is 8. And I had more negatives. So that's going to be y is less than negative 0 8/10. I need a better stylus if you couldn't tell. Y is less than negative 0 8/10. That's your solution. So it also says to graph it. So I'm going to put a 0 in the middle, a 1 to the right, and a negative 1 to the left. Negative 0 8/10 is almost to negative 1. And this is less than, so that's going to be an open circle. Now if we look at our sign, less than points to the left, so you're going to darken your line to the left. Where you've darkened your line, that means any of those numbers on that number line or to the left of that could be possible solutions for y. Number 10, n plus 2 is less than negative 6. So I'm going to subtract 2 from the left and subtract 2 from the right. N is less than negative 8. Solution, n is less than negative 8. So that's going to be an, I need a label. So I'm going to put a negative 8. I'm going to put negative 6 and negative 10. That's going to be an open circle at negative 8, pointing to the left. Remember, you can always pause this, back it up, move it forward, slow it down if I'm going too fast. You plan to study at least, ding, 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 ding. You plan to study at least 1.5 hours for a geography test. Write an inequality that represents the situation. Does it say solve it? Nope. Does it say graph it? No. It simply says write an inequality. So since we're talking about studying, I'm going to use an S for study. I know the number is going to go over here. Now I have to decide what inequality means at least. Well, could I study less than that? Nope. Could I study more than that if it says at least? Yes. Could I study exactly 1.5 hours? Yes. So at least always indicates that your sign is going to be greater than or equal to. And that's all you have to do for number 11. All right, there's a lot going on here for number 12, so let's pay real close attention. Fitness test. The 3 requirements to pass a fitness test are shown. First, you have to jog for at least 2 kilometers. Second, you have to perform 25 or more push-ups. And third, you must perform at least 10 pull-ups. Directions. Write and graph 3 inequalities that represent the requirements from above. Okay, so I'm going back to number 1, which was yellow. So this number line is going to go with number 1 up here. Jog at least 2 kilometers. It says to write and graph. So what does it mean if you have to jog at least 2 kilometers? At least is going to be greater than or equal to. So I'm going to put my 2 in the middle, my 3 to the right, and my 1 here. That's going to be a closed circle at 2 because I could jog more than that, right? If it says at least 2, I could jog 3 or 4. So that's what your 2 answers should look like. So on your test, you're going to get a point for your graphing and a point for writing the inequality. Okay, let's focus on number 2, which is green. Perform 25 or more push-ups. 25 or more. So the number of push-ups could be 25, or it could be more than that. So greater than or equal to. So to graph that, I'm going to put 25 in the middle. I'll put 27 down here and 23 down here. Closed circle at 25, pointing to the right. Number 3, moving on to orange. Perform at least 10 pull-ups. The number of pull-ups has to be greater than or equal to 10. So 10 in the middle, we'll put 12 down here and 8 down here. Closed circle at 10, pointing to the right. You can jog 2,500 meters, perform 30 push-ups, and perform 20 pull-ups. Do you satisfy the requirements of the test? Okay, so let's go back up here. So I had, for number 1, I had x is greater than or equal to 2. For number 2, I had x is greater than or equal to 25. And number 3, I had x is greater than or equal to 10. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to substitute. So the first one was yellow. Let's see, the first one said jog at least 2 kilometers. 2 kilometers, and this says 2,500 meters. So 2 kilometers is equal to 2,000 meters. So if I convert this to 2,000 meters, and then I substitute, is 2,500 meters greater than or equal to 2,000 meters? Check. Yes, I met the requirement for running. Number 2, I have to perform 25 or more push-ups. And in the problem down here, it says you perform 30 push-ups. So substitute 30 for your x. Is 30 greater than or equal to 25? Yes. And my pull-ups. Perform at least 10 pull-ups, and I perform 20 pull-ups. So if I perform 20, is 20 greater than or equal to the required 10? Yes. You can jog 2,500 meters, perform 30 push-ups, and perform 20 pull-ups. Do you satisfy the requirements of the test? It says explain. This is my explanation, and my final answer would be a yes. Solve the inequality and graph the solution. All right, so 2x is greater than negative 3/5. So I am going to divide by 2 on the left and divide by 2 on the right. So my 2's are going to cancel. I have x is greater than what? Now I'm going to come over here and solve negative 3/5 divided by 2 is negative 3/5, keep it, switch it, flip it, times 1/2. So that would be negative 3/10. Negative 3/10. So if I multiply 3 times 1, I get 3, and 5 times 2 is 10. That's how I got negative 3/10. So to graph that, I'm going to put my negative 3/10 in the middle. I'm going to put my negative 1/10 down here. I'm going to put negative 5/10 to the left. That's going to be an open circle at negative 3/10 with my arrow pointing to the right. So negative z divided by 8 is less than 1 5/10. All right, so I'm going to multiply both sides by negative 8, multiply by negative 8 on the left, and multiply by negative 8 on the right. So those are going to cancel. Ding, 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 ding. Remember, if you have to solve an inequality by multiplying or dividing by a negative, which is what I just did right here. If you have to multiply or divide by a negative to solve your inequality, you have to flip your sign. So my less than sign is going to flip to greater than. Now I have to figure out what 1 5/10 times negative 8 is. So 1 5/10 times negative 8, that's 40, and that's 12 with a decimal, and that's going to be a negative. So z is greater than negative 12. So my negative 12 is going to go in the middle. I'll put negative 10 here and negative 14 here, with an open circle at negative 12 and my arrow pointing to the right. Okay, we're doing the same thing here. We're going to solve and graph. First thing I'm going to do is subtract 2 from the left and subtract 2 from the right. So 3 times what is less than or equal to 9. Divide by 3, divide by 3, n is less than or equal to 3. There's my solution. 3 goes in the middle, 4 to the right, 2 to the left, closed circle at 3, pointing to the left. 1 3/10 times what? Minus 3 8/10 is less than negative 1 2/10. So add 3 8/10 to the left and add 3 8/10 to the right. So this cancels. 1 3/10 times what is less than. So over here, different signs, find the difference, line them up. 3 8/10 minus 1 2/10. And I had more positives, so that's going to be 2 6/10. Now, divide both sides by 1 3/10. M is less than 2. So I've got 2, 3, 1, open circle at 2, pointing to the left. Write the word sentence as an inequality, then solve the inequality. The quotient means division. The quotient of a number and 5 is less than 4. Then solve. The opposite of dividing by 5 is multiplying by 5. It does not say graph, so you don't have to graph it after you solve it. 6 times a number is at least negative 14. 6 times a number is at least negative 14. Divide by 6, divide by 6. So come over here. I'm actually going to do a fraction. So we've got negative 14 divided by 6. Negative 14 times 1/6. Cross cancel, cross cancel. That's negative 7/3. You could also simplify that to negative 2 1/3. Directions, directions. Solve the inequality and graph the solution. All right, 4/7 minus what is greater than negative 1/7? So first I'm going to subtract 4/7 from the left and from the right. Then I have negative b is greater than negative 5/7. Now remember, we've talked about how you cannot have a negative variable. So to get rid of that, you can multiply both sides by negative 1. So negative b times negative 1 is positive b. Since I multiplied by a negative, I'm going to flip my sign. And negative 5/7 times negative 1 is positive 5/7. So your final solution is b is less than 5/7. Put your solution in the middle. So 5/7, 6/7, 7/7, or 1 whole. 3/7, open circle. Number 22, what number divided by negative 2 minus 6 is less than or equal to negative 2? All right, my variable's on the left, so I don't have to flip that. So the first step is plus 6 on the left and plus 6 on the right. My 6's are going to cancel. What number divided by negative 2 is less than or equal to 4? Then what number divided by negative 2, opposite of dividing by negative 2, ding, 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 is multiplying by negative 2. You have to flip your sign. Oops, sorry, did not mean to write negative 12. Flip your sign. Anytime you have to multiply or divide by a negative, you're going to flip your sign. So my negative 2's are going to cancel. So z is less than or equal to is going to flip to greater than or equal to. And 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. So negative 8 goes in the middle, negative 6, negative 10, closed circle at negative 8, pointing to the right. Okay. We are almost there. Getting closer. Same directions as above that said solve the inequality and graph the solution. Minus 4, so 3 times what is greater than 12? Divide by 3, x is greater than 4. Your solution goes in the middle. Put one number to the right and one number to the left. Open circle at 4, pointing to the right. Okay, so this has distributive property in an inequality. So remember, first you have to distribute or multiply 1 2/10 times j, 1 2/10 times 3 5/10, which is 4 2/10, is greater than 4 8/10. Subtract your 4 2/10 from the left and subtract 4 2/10 from the right. That's going to cancel. 1 2/10 times what is greater than 0 6/10. Divide by 1 2/10 on the left, divide by 1 2/10 on the right. Yoo-hoo. Be very, very careful. You're going to be tempted to put that 1 2/10 on the inside divided by a 0 6/10. That is not what the problem says. The problem says, what is 0 6/10 divided by 1 2/10? When you look at a division problem written as a fraction, the top number always goes on the inside, the bottom number always goes on the outside. Slide your decimal once, slide your decimal once. 12 cannot go into 0 or into 6. Add a 0, 12 goes into 60 5 times, and 5 times 12 is 60. So that is going to be a 0 5/10. So final solution, j is greater than 0 5/10. 0 5/10 goes in the middle. Put 0 7/10, 0 3/10 with an open circle pointing to the right. You have $18 to buy peppers. Peppers cost $1.50 each. Write and solve an inequality that represents the number of peppers that you can buy. So I'm going to drop off the 0 from my $1.50 just to make the math a little bit simpler. So $1.50 times how many peppers? Whoops. $1.50 times how many peppers? Now, can I spend more than $18? I only have $18, so I can't spend more than 18. Can I spend less than 18? Yep. Could I spend exactly 18? Yes. $1.50 times how many peppers would be less than or equal to the $18 I have in my pocket? Divide both sides by 1 5/10. So to solve this problem, we're going to come over here and divide 18 by 1 5/10. Remember, move the decimal. Yoo-hoo! Add a decimal, add a 0, and move it. Your decimal is going to be sitting behind the third digit. 15 cannot go into 1. 15 times 1 is 15. Subtract, and 15 times 2 is 30. So the number of peppers that I can purchase is going to be less than or equal to 12. Write and solve an inequality. Okay, so it does not say to graph it. It said write and solve, which I did. You have a gift card worth $90. You want to buy several movies that cost $12 each. Write and solve an inequality that represents the number of movies that you can buy and still have at least $30 on the gift card. Okay, there's a lot going on here. Gift card is worth $90. The movies cost $12 each, but very important information, I still want to have at least $30 left on the gift card. All right, so $90 that I have to start with minus $12 per movie will be greater than or equal to the $30 that I want to have left on my card. Subtract 90 from the left and 90 from the right. Negative 12 times what is greater than or equal to negative 60. Divide by negative 12, ding, 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 ding. If you have to divide by a negative to solve an inequality, you must flip your sign. You can purchase 5 movies and still have $30 left over. Your class sells boxes of chocolates for $500. Whoops, sorry. Boxes of chocolates for $500 for a field trip. You earn $6.25 for each box of chocolate sold. Now, what do I have to do? Write and solve an inequality that represents the number of boxes that your class must sell to meet or exceed the fundraising goal. So you can either reach the goal of 500 or you can also sell a little bit more than that. Write and solve. Okay, so I'm going to earn $6.25 times how many boxes to make at least $500. Divide by 6 25/100ths. Divide by 6 25/100ths. Whoops, sorry. So 500 when you did your math. That should have come out to be, going to use my handy dandy calculator here for a second. Oh, it does come out to exactly 80. Wasn't sure if you were going to have to round on that one. So you need to sell at least 80 boxes of chocolates. Last page. Woohoo! Okay, fair game review. So remember, on every test, we're going to throw a few things on there that we've already done this year. This is an equation, which we've done lots of this year. So draw your mirror. Show me the inverse operation. Cancel. Positive 5 4/10, negative 14 5/10. Different signs, find the difference. 14 5/10 minus 5 4/10. That's going to be a 1 and a 9. You had more negatives. So negative 9 1/10. Substitute and check. Check your solution. So is negative 9 1/10 plus 14 5/10 equal to 5 4/10? Now remember, every day that we did equations for weeks, I said 3-digit numbers, decimals, and fractions, you have to show me the math. So you all know that this problem right here has to be solved over here. I've got a negative 9 1/10. I've got a positive 14 5/10. Different signs, find the difference. So I'm going to subtract. And I had more positives. 5 4/10 equals 5 4/10. Check. Simplify the expression. So first we're going to distribute. 3 times 5 is 15. 3 times negative 2n is negative 6n plus 9n. Combine your n's together. 9n minus 6n is 3n, and you have a positive 15. So your answer could be 3n plus 15 or 15 plus 3n. So that is acceptable, and that is also acceptable. Last two. Okay, this is an equation. It's not an inequality. There's an equal sign. So 2/9 times what is equal to -8? The opposite of multiplying by 2/9 is dividing by 2/9. Remember, when you divide 2/9 by 2/9, you multiply by the reciprocal. So that's why, to solve this, we're going to multiply the left by 9/2, and we're going to multiply the right by 9/2. So this is all going to cancel down to 1. And then over here, I'm going to have cross cancel, cross cancel. So 4 times 9 is 36. And I'm multiplying a negative times a positive. So I'm going to check that is 2/9 times negative 36 equal to -8. So if I come over here and cross cancel, I've got divide by 9, divide by 9. 2 times 4 is 8. And I've got a negative times a positive. -8 equals -8. Check. Last one, guys. We made it. Distribute first. 2 times x. 2 times 1. Subtract 2 from the left. Subtract 2 from the right. 2 times what equals -4? Divide by 2. Divide by 2. X equals -2. Substitute and check. I am going to, whoops, shrink that down just a tad. Okay, so remember, when you substitute, go back to your original equation. So is 2 times -2 plus 2 equal to -2? Well, 2 times -2 is -4. Is -4 plus 2 equal to -2? Yes, -2 equals -2. Check. All righty.